Jason Todd is a victim. He's Batman's greatest failure, but that's not the part of his story that matters. What matters is what he became because of it. Because when trauma goes unresolved and anger has nowhere to go, you don't stay the same, you change. And Jason Todd is one of the clearest examples of that in fiction. His change didn't come from what happened to him physically, but mentally. When you're spiraling, questioning everything, and the one person you're supposed to trust doesn't reach you in time. Jason didn't just lose his life, he lost his belief. Belief in the system, in justice, and in Batman, and what he became after that was built, step by step, decision by decision, and choice by choice. And this is the exact reason why his story matters, because the themes of the story aren't limited to fiction. It happens to people who never learn what to do with what they're carrying, and if you don't understand that, it doesn't go away, it only builds. And when you break his story down, you start to see exactly how this happens through 5 defining pillars, so let's get into it. Before Jason became Red Hood or Robin, he was just a kid trying to survive on the streets. Not in your typical urban environment like, for example, New York or Chicago, but on the streets of Gotham, a place filled with crime, violence, suffering, and pain beyond imagining. At a young age, Jason lost his mother to illness and his father to Two-Face. And with no one to protect or guide him, Jason had to learn early that in a place with no structure, stability, and most of all mercy, you either adapt or get left behind, forced to be consumed by Gotham's underworld. So, Jason adapted. He got sharper, more resourceful, and started becoming hands-on. He became the literal definition of the quote, "God bless the child who has his own." That's why when Batman first meets him in Crime Alley, Jason isn't scared like most adults would be. He's stealing the tires off the Batmobile like it's a broke-down Corolla. And that moment tells you everything about what type of kid Jason is. He wasn't weak with nothing to offer, he was already becoming something dangerous. Not because he chose to be, but because that's what his environment was shaping him into. And Bruce sees this immediately. He doesn't just see a desperate kid in need of a hot meal, he sees potential. And a path that leads somewhere dangerous if no one steps in. Hence why when Bruce takes him in, it's not just a charitable act, it's about redirecting him, channeling his skills before he becomes something Gotham can't control. And for the first time in Jason's life, he's given something he never had before, a purpose. Bruce turned his dream into reality when he's given the mantle of Robin. But this is where people start to misunderstand him, because when Jason first becomes Robin, he isn't this angry, unstable kid people assume. He's happy, energetic, almost excited. But even then, you could see the edge that appears from the cracks of his surface. He's a little more impulsive, reckless, and a little more willing to go farther than he should. He isn't malignant or anything, but he has this edge because that's how he learned to survive. He had no one, no father or mentor to teach him differently. And that's what makes the contrast between Dick and Jason so important, because Dick was the opposite. He was the angry one, the one who lost his parents, and for a long time he was dealing with grief, anger, and even depression. But despite that, Dick had control. He wasn't unruly because he had something Jason didn't: stability before the trauma and proper guidance after it. His anger had somewhere to go. It got refined and controlled. Meanwhile, Jason didn't have that. Instead of learning how to control his emotions, he learned how to act on them. And over time, that difference starts to grow. Jason doesn't stay that little boy he used to be. He starts getting more aggressive, more willing to cross lines, and eventually, the aggression stops becoming emotion and starts becoming belief.
Robin!
I had to take him down.
You shattered his collarbone!
He's a drug-dealing pimp. I didn't think I had to prop up some pillows before I took him out.
This moment is where everything changes, because Jason isn't just fighting criminals anymore, he's punishing them. And in his mind, that's the only option that makes sense. Because what's the point of stopping someone if they're just gonna come back and do it again? What's the point of rules if they don't protect anyone? What's the point of holding back if innocent people keep suffering, friends keep suffering, and nothing changes? Every action ends with the same result: more heartbreak, more stress, and more carnage. And this is exactly where the real conflict between Jason and Bruce starts. Because Bruce doesn't see it that way. He believes in restraint, in rules, in a system that, even if flawed, shouldn't be crossed. Not due to something shallow like law or judgment, but to prevent yourself from becoming who you swore to stop. But Jason doesn't believe in that anymore. He isn't looking at the world like an idealist, he's looking at it the way it actually is. And once you let yourself become jaded like that, you don't just feel anger anymore. You justify it, act on it, and you build a worldview around it. Eventually, you stop listening, not just to the system, but to authority, even to your mentor figures, in this case, Batman. Because now, Jason doesn't see Bruce as guidance anymore, he sees him as a limitation. And that's where everything starts to fall apart. Because once you stop listening, you start acting alone, start taking bigger risks, you start trusting your judgment over everyone else's, and for a while, maybe it'll work. But eventually, there's gonna be a moment where it doesn't. That mindset puts Jason exactly where it was always going to. Alone. Alone without backup, with no one to pull him back, just him and the consequences of every decision that led him there. Jason is captured, beaten, tortured, and left to die. But in that moment, Jason isn't thinking about revenge. He isn't thinking that Bruce failed him. He's thinking about one thing, that Batman is going to fix this. Bruce is going to finally cross that line. Just this once. For him, for Barbara, and for everyone else who suffered or died by his hand. Because after everything, all the fighting, all the loyalty, and all the pain he's endured, that's what Jason believes he's worth. When he dies, he doesn't die angry, he dies believing. But when he comes back, he learns something that changes everything. The Joker is still alive. The man who tortured him, killed him, and broke him completely was allowed to live. And that right there is what actually breaks Jason. Not the pain from being beaten relentlessly with a crowbar. Not Joker mocking his every squirm and movement, making comedy out of his suffering. But Bruce's decision to spare the man who killed his son. When Jason comes back, he isn't confused. He came back certain. Everything he believed before is confirmed, so this time he doesn't hesitate, nor does he hold back. The Red Hood isn't a different person. He's Jason without doubt and without a filter. Everything that was building before, the anger, the frustration, the need for control seething out, is all still there. The only difference is, now there's nothing and no one trying to reel it in. And that's why Red Hood isn't reckless like your run-of-the-mill anti-hero or supervillain. He's controlled, calculated, and deliberate. He doesn't decide to just fight crime, he decides to control all of it. Because to him, there's no stopping crime, there's only controlling it, forcing it to redirect before it evolves into something untamable. Jason didn't lose his morals, he just replaced them with something that makes more sense to him. From his perspective, he's not wrong, he's just willing to do what Batman won't. And this is exactly what makes him so dangerous, not because he's out of control, but because he fully believes he's right. When Jason finally confronts Bruce, this isn't just a fight, it's Bruce trying to understand what went wrong, trying to avoid the obvious answer because Bruce doesn't want to believe that Jason became this on his own. He wants an explanation. He wants something external. He wants a straw man, something he can just point to and blame.
Please, I can help you. I know what happened.
Oh, you got to talking with Raish, huh? But does it make it easier for you to think that my little dip in his fountain of youth turned me rabid? Or is this just the real me?
Everything Bruce is seeing now was always there, and that's what Bruce can't accept. Because if Jason was always like this, he didn't just fail because of what happened, he failed because he never saw it. He failed as a father trying to raise his son properly, and that's where the real conflict arises. Because to Jason, this was never about Joker, it was about Bruce. Because in Jason's mind, there's only one thing that would prove everything, that Bruce would kill Joker. Because to Jason, this isn't about revenge, it's about value. It's about being worthy enough for Bruce to choose him over the rules. But Bruce doesn't see it that way.
Life isn't a game, and death is never a choice. To make it so is our undoing. It would be my undoing. I think about killing Joker every day, ending the monster that I let loose on the world. But I'll never allow myself that release, a promise I made to my father and mother. An example to a son that I will never stop fighting to protect from himself.
So while Jason sees killing as a proof of love, Bruce sees the opposite by using restraint. And that's why they can never agree, because they're both trying to do the right thing, just in completely different ways. And that's what makes Jason Todd so important, because his story isn't about what happened to him, it's about what was already there. It was also about what happens when no one teaches you how to deal with it. Unresolved anger doesn't just disappear on its own, you need to learn from it and understand it. Because if you don't and can't control it, it grows quietly like a boiling pot of water overflowing. It solidifies in the way you act, in the way you think, and in the way you justify things you never thought you would. Most people don't fall apart at once, they change slowly, and sometimes they don't become something new, they just become more of what they already were. This Jason was lucky. He had the release of death, but not every version of him does. Some of them don't get out. They get taken, and they get broken over and over for months until what's left of them isn't even trying to understand anymore. He just wants the person he deems responsible to burn.
No, no, please, please, no, no!
Thank y'all for watching. Oh my god, man, I can't believe how fast we're growing. God damn, y'all going up for real. Y'all already know the drill. Like and subscribe if you appreciate it. Turn on post notifications so you get notified every single time I post. Also, every single week I'm posting a poll to see what characters y'all want next, alright? So tap in. This is why you gotta turn on that post notification so you get notified every time that poll gets up. Even if your character doesn't win, don't worry. I'm gonna do every single character I mention on the list. Anyways, I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. I love y'all. Stick around, this is only the beginning.